The world will take from you everything that you will give it, and you have to keep some of it for yourself, for your experiences, and for your relationships.
Hello, and welcome back to the Tin Can Tucson. In this episode, we take you to the Quartzsite RV show of 2025. It was an incredible experience. As you can see, thousands of people gathered together to camp for free on BLM land outside of Quartzsite and attend this magnificent RV show, held in a huge tent filled with hundreds of vendors and surrounded by RVs for sale. This big event is held in Quartzsite, Arizona, every January, and this year we got to attend. We drove out from Southern California, crossed the border into Arizona, and found Dome Rock Campground. There are literally thousands of spots to choose from, and we ended up with this beautiful one. This may look like an ordinary fire pit, but it was made up of hundreds of quartz stones. The view we ended up with was really classical Southwest. After parking the trailer, the most important thing we can set up is our kitchen setup. And we have to do this during the day because it gets dark early there, especially in January. In case you didn't know, our tiny trailer does not have a bathroom, nor does it even have a water tank. So another thing that we set up is this shower tent. It does give you good shade, keeps you out of the wind, and works just fine. Okay, now that we're all set up, it's time to go and get water. We use a 5-gallon jug, fill it up, and it lasts us all week. As the sun started to set, we lit our fire because it gets really cold there in the evenings. After a delicious dinner of salmon and Brussels sprouts and salad, we settled in for the night. There's a never-ending stream of cars on the highway. We can't hear them, but we can see them. Living in a big city, we almost never see the stars. So every time we go camping, we sit outside, point our faces to the sky, and contemplate the majesty of a God who created everything we can see up there. It's beyond our imaginations.
Well, here we are at Dome Rock, probably the best campsite ever, and we're waking up on Wednesday morning to hot coffee with the French press and my usual peanut butter and blueberry toast.
Believe it or not, most of the people who watch our videos are not subscribed yet, and if you're one of them, please make a point of subscribing today. We'd love to have you as a part of our family.
Well, here we are at the Big Tent Rendezvous, or whatever they call it, here in Quartzsite, Arizona. And we have no idea what to expect, but there are a lot of people here, and the tent is just huge. It looks like a humongous circus tent.
That's right, and we're really excited to see all the stuff that's inside the tent. It is massive, and we're especially excited to see all the different RVs that are going to be featured here, because from what I can tell, there's a lot of them.
So come with us and enjoy the tour.
I'm so curious how many people are here. Thousands and thousands, I'm sure.
Take a look at all these license plates. They show you just how far people are willing to go to come to this amazing tent RV show. we had the amazing pleasure of running into our friends Mark and Heidi Baudet, who we used to know in Minnesota, but now they RV full-time. We also ended up at Beer Bellies, which is a great place for live music and cold drinks, and just to put your feet up for a little bit before you get way too tired. After visiting the big tent, it was time for some exploring. We just love the contrast of our little tiny trailer next to these uber modern Tesla charging stations. 1965 versus 2025. This bright red metal camel in Quartzsite is a unique landmark located near the High Jolly Monument that you'll see in just a moment. It stands as a tribute to the famous camel driver Haji Ali, also known as High Jolly. We stopped in at this incredibly interesting store. We called it our redneck experience, and I mean no disrespect by that. I have very high esteem for redneck culture. In fact, I'd be very honored to call myself one of them. The things they sold at this store were truly amazing. Anything from fantastic knives to books to these signs which really amuse me. David was very taken with this cannon that was outside, and by the way, it was for sale. And this monument, the High Jolly Monument, honors the life of Haji Ali, High Jolly, a camel driver who helped with the U.S. Army's Camel Corps project in the 1850s.
So here we are back at camp after a really fun day at the Big Tent Gathering. I'm not even sure what they call it, but it's like the Israelites gathering around the tabernacle. It's this gigantic thing, and there's people everywhere. And we're like on the younger edge of things, to say the least. And so virtually everybody is upper 60s, 70s, 80s. We went into this one place where it says nobody under 21. I think within an hour of here, there probably isn't anybody under 21. But Quartzsite really is the mecca for RV people, especially people that are full-time or virtually full-time, people who are nomads. They spend their lives on the road, and there's every possible thing for sale, like wheel covers that keep the sun off of your tires, or all kinds of gadgets and gizmos, super expensive food stalls, and super cheap places too. So you can really overpay at these things, or you can really underpay. We saw these gigantic stalls of kitchen stuff and tools for sale, and it was unbelievably inexpensive. Some of the stuff there, just rows and rows of stuff outdoors. Fascinating.
Yeah, that was with the outdoor vendors. And of course, there's the massive big tent where they have, I don't know how many indoor vendors. And they're the ones that sell all the things that are specifically related to RVers, like he said, some kitchen stuff, but also RV resorts to join.
Parts, lots of
Lots of
things to put on your hitch, or things to work on your suspension, or things that are really useful, especially if you have a big RV, and stuff that's just not useful at all. Just kind of fun frou-frou stuff that you find at a state fair. Picture a state fair walking up and down inside the gigantic halls, and there's all these stalls, and people are trying to get your attention and trying to sell you something.
And that's exactly what it looked like. In fact, there's stuff there for people's pets. There's clothing, there's jewelry, there's CBD oil, there's just all sorts of fun stuff. What was interesting was we wanted to look at the RVs that were outside, because outside of that massive tent, there are rows and rows and rows of RVs that I believe are either being showcased or some of them are being sold. And I saw a couple of sold signs on some of them. And in general, they were huge RVs.
Gigantic RVs.
Gigantic.
And super luxurious, all this kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
no prices,
Hmm.
no salespeople. If you wanted to buy one, I'm not sure how you would, although they're all for sale.
Earlier in the day, I'm sure they were there. We
Maybe,
were there
yeah.
in the later afternoon, and I think all the people who are selling these things were tired. They were done, because they're not here just for one day. They're here for like a whole week.
10 days.
10 days, there you go. That's a long time.
10 days is a long time to man one of those stalls. And,
Absolutely.
or to be selling things. And the weather is wonderful. Here we are in January, and we're sitting out here in light sweatshirts, and the weather today was perfect all day
it was
long.
absolutely lovely. I think the high was 66, which is really not bad for a January especially.
We were able to find some friends from Minnesota when we used to live in Minnesota decades ago. Mark and Heidi Baudet, they don't look any different than they did back then. It's just fascinating.
They haven't aged at all.
They're in their mid-60s, and they've been on the road for 7 years. They retired early, and they are going around in an Airstream right now. And
I'm jealous. I wish we were full-time, but they took that big step.
They did.
They sold everything, and they bought a beautiful RV, and they have been on the road and loving it.
And so these are really sociable events, except for where we are right now. We're way out in the wilderness, which has advantages, because here you are with this gorgeous scenery all around us, sunsets, sunrises, and Dome Rock right behind us. It's absolutely beautiful.
I hope you can see that beautiful sunset right there.
And we have an area about the size of a trailer park all to ourselves, because it's just, there's tons of room out here.
Just for us.
And you can camp for free. We have a rule, we've said this before, you've probably heard it, that the more you pay for a campsite, the uglier it is, and the less you pay for it, the more beautiful it is. So that goes all the way down to free. And if you play your cards right, you really don't have to pay for camping in the Southwest. It's just absolutely beautiful. It's a wonderful place to camp. And some of the more expensive places, $70, $80, $100 a night.
Yeah.
And you're in a parking lot right next to other gigantic
one next
RVs.
to the other,
a little stripe between you and the next person. And I just don't
understand. They get hookups, but I mean, we have that at Huntington Beach, like right by the beach. $100 a night, and they're literally parked in a parking lot. That's it. Yeah, they get to look at the ocean.
Be a smart camper and look for places that are free. Now, I realize that in some parts of the country, that's not the case. There's not a lot of federal land in Texas or in other places in the east. But in the Southwest, and as far as we know, Oregon and other places we've been up in Idaho,
we've had some good experiences there. We also had
some really good places to camp for free. So I'd really encourage you to look at BLM, Bureau of Land Management, and Forest Service land. That's public land. Your taxes have paid for it. You can camp there for free as long as you leave it the way you found it.
Right.
And 14 days, and pay attention to the fire rules and all those kinds of things.
And they have that rule of leave no trace. So leave it better than how you found it, and we will never lose this ability to camp there.
Can you see what I meant by how many campsites there are there? And this is only one tiny fraction of all the land where people are camping.
Now, regarding today's event, I wanted to take a lot more footage for you. You'll have seen by now a few clips. And I tried to focus on mostly the more colorful stuff, but there are so many vendors, so many booths, And I couldn't film it all because the place is literally packed with people. And not everybody wants to be filmed. So I try to be very circumspect about it. And I try not to just go up into somebody's face and take their photograph. You may just have to come here and experience it yourself. It's a phenomenon. It's a happening. So to wrap this all up, this was a fun event. It is worth coming to. It is worth your time. Definitely recommend that you give it a try. If you like this video, we do hope that you will give us a thumbs up. We hope that you will subscribe to our channel, The Tin Can Twosome, and hit that bell for notifications because we put out new content just about every week of the year.
We encourage you to follow us because we're trying to get out as much as we possibly can, because the world will take from you everything that you will give it, and you have to keep some of it for yourself, for your experiences, and for your relationships, for connecting with people, taking time with people, talking with people, cultivating those important go-the-distance relationships. So we can't do that if we're working all the time.
God took a day off every week. So,
and he's busier than you are.
He certainly must be, I tell you. Anyway, thanks for joining us, and hopefully someday we will see you on the trail.